Hi everyone, I'm Philip and I'm just specialist educator for the Ucat exam. Just to introduce myself a bit before I get into this video, I did the Ucat exam in 2019 where I actually ended up scoring a 3250, which was the 99th percentile, in fact the 99th plus percentile. I think it was in like the top 0.21%. As my tutoring service, I've actually taught ever since the Ucat exam has actually come out in Australia, and I've actually been able to teach more than 70 students, and I've currently been able to guarantee a 100% success rate out of all students to actually ever complete my tutoring. Okay, so with that sort of bit started, now I sort of want to say, well, hello everyone, I'm actually back. So yeah, I'm back after so long of like a bit of a break and everything. This is why they always say you got to really make sure that, your health is all in check and everything. But, thanks to just everything, just, taking a bit of a break and just refreshing myself a little bit and everything, I can definitely say I'm back, more energetic than ever before and everything, and definitely here to try to help you with your UCAT as much as I can. And I think now is the perfect time to do it as we actually go into today's, or the next year's UCAT season. And I think this sort of relates to the sort of topic that I'm looking to teach today. So I'm just going to sort of load up my screen right now, and here it is. So now, this is actually going to start the first video of, again, another series of videos, which I'm going to do, just offering you a little bit of tips here and there. And the sort of common question that's always asked by any of my students is just simply, when should I actually start studying for the UCAT? So I receive a lot of inquiries. I must have received over hundreds and hundreds by now. And I think, many of these inquiries just end up asking the same sort of thing. When should I actually end up studying for the UCAT? When should I actually start studying? And the answer is actually going to surprise you a bit because it's actually much longer than you actually think. But before I sort of get into that, I sort of want to remind you or just bring up two resources that I actually have and everything. So now, actually, I do have a Google Forms where you can request a private tutoring session with me. I put the link right here, but probably gonna be a bit hard to see. So one of those things where you can just check by just simply looking down below. Well, I'm just going to post it there as well. And by clicking on the link and filling out the form, you can get a private tutoring session with me. And again, as I repeated in the intro, I'm a highly specialized tutor and everything with a lot of experience in UCAT, and I'll definitely be able to help you out. And right here is another resource that I have. This one's free. This one's my online UCAT Discord community. You can simply click on this link right here, and again, it will be in the sort of down below area, in that sort of description area just down below there. And pretty much what you can do there is that actually just click on the link and join my online community server. And then from there, you'll be able to just simply access, a load of resources as well, and also community to sort of help you guys succeed in the UCAT. But anyways, let's just sort of officially get started. So the question for today is, when should I actually start studying for the UCAT? And I'm just going to go through just a few quick points here. Like, this is meant to be like a quick go through sort of video. It's talk about your competition, because there is a lot of competition there as a UCAT student. Then I'm going to be talking about my experience of a UCAT as a UCAT teacher, and also I can sort of provide my sort of input through that as well, and a bit of a final summary to sort of kick it up as well, and just sort of wrap up this lesson here as well. So first off, I talk about your competition and everything. So one of the common things that people actually really like to sort of think is that you don't actually need to do training until you're like super close to the UCAT exam, like literally like a few months within itself, like 1, 2 or 3 months. I mean, from my experience as a tutor, I get like a peak of inquiries down 6 or 7 months for the actual, well, I don't know, not even that. I'd say 3 months for the UCAT itself, because people just think that, that's like the best time to do it. And they just feel like, a few months would actually be enough. And unfortunately, in reality, the thing is that it actually really requires much more time to actually study and everything if you actually want to perform to the standard required. And I think if you've seen any of my other videos and everything, you'd see that the standard required would be the 90th percentile, pretty much as like a go through. I mean, yeah, there are a few exceptions here and then, if you want to get like good in like your other results, your highest results or your uni results, maybe you don't need to do that well and everything. But for this general standard, it would be the 90th percentile. And that's a pretty hard score to get. It's around 3,000 nowadays. And why do you actually need to do it like this? Well, you have to consider your competition, okay? So I cater my lessons to both the UK UCAT students and also the Australian students as well. And pretty much you have to realize that when you compete against people, especially if this is your first time, and if this is your second, third, or fourth time or whatever, then you know this as well, that you're competing against people with lots of UCAT experience, okay? So if we want to look to the UK and everything, the UCAT has actually been out as a sort of clinical exam since 2006. And in Australia or New Zealand, the UCAT has been out since 2019, okay? And what does this actually mean for you? Well, if we actually think about this, is that it's actually, you may be competing with that. You may actually be competing with people with more than around 18 years of experience for the UCAT in the UK, and 5 years of experience for the UCAT, whether if you're in Australia and New Zealand. And while it may not be entirely realistic sort of think about the fact that, okay, well, people are actually doing the UCAT for 18 years, I don't think that'd really be the case at all, actually. But I'd definitely say if especially for Australians, in fact, UK people as well, that 4 to 5 years could be a realistic timeline. You're competing with people with like 4 to 5 years of experience. Okay, when I say 4 to 5 years experience, I'm meaning 4 to 5 years of actually having sat and done the UCAT exam itself. But not only that, but also 4 to 5 years of actually sitting there studying for it as well. Because like, and actually, if we actually think about this as well, if you think that they're making a mistake where they just study for like 2 or 3 months at a time, they've literally got around a year of studying in there as well. So your competition is very, fierce and everything by people just as hungry as you to get into medicine and everything, right? Or whichever, dentistry or whichever you may sort of think as well, right? So the thing is that, and this is obviously very scary because these people are highly experienced. So like, people always say that, talent does actually end up always like, beating hard work always ends up actually beating talent. And the thing is that, well, these people have been working very, very hard for like a very long time and everything. So unless you're extremely good, 2 to 3 months will just not crack it against these people who've been studying for so long as well, right? And for anyone who actually has done the UCAT exam before and is going for another time and has got another time after that, you're going to realize that you actually do get much better at the UCAT over time. And that's good for you. But what it also unfortunately means is that your competition will also be able to advance massively over time as well. And and that means that, well, like I said before, you need to be wary of this because people are getting better and better and everything. And you really need to make sure, especially if you're a first timer, that you're practicing very often to try to catch up to their sort of like, standard level, given that they've been practicing so much and everything. So now to the next sort of part as well, talk about my experience as a teacher and everything, and to talk about exactly how long you should practice for. So I've been teaching for 5 years and that and everything. And I found an exact timeline and everything for which actually ends up working. And what I've actually ended up finding is that if you've actually been practicing, so the best results, these students who have achieved the best and everything that you can, and this is from like, my experience and also what I now suggest to my students, it's actually that if you do your practice 6 months to a year out from the UCAT exam, so my suggestion is actually 1 year, so literally right now. So the UCAT exam testing cycle is usually around like June to August-ish. So this year's cycle is just completed. So if you're actually looking to start, UCAT training, it actually would be right now. This would literally be the best time. It is literally, what's the day today? It's like August the 29th or something like that. So if you want to actually get good at the UCAT and everything, then you really need to sort of be practicing right now and everything, okay? So those are the students who do the best. And a majority of people who don't actually do well, they practice within 3 months thinking it is enough and everything. And that's like the majority. And, that's the average. And do you really want to be average? No, you do not, because that is not what you really need to do well in the UCAT. And to be average through 3 months, you need a bit more than that. And this sort of goes back to the idea where I just say, well, the UCAT has very trainable skills, right? So it has like, mental math and reading the text properly. These are topics I've discussed actually in my lessons, and also one of these in another video as well. And these skills are trainable. Like I said before, you can get better at them, but then the thing is that you need to actually train them for like a long time to actually get where you need to. So I like to sort of think about this as like an exponential curve. So you know how these sorts of curves look? It kind of goes like this. If you look at my camera, but like kind of goes like this. It starts slow, then increases massively after that. So you can improve a bit after 3 months, but then in reality, where you really get the most out of your improvements, it's after like 6 months to a whole year of actually continuing with that sort of path and everything. So you really need to be there for like a long time, training for such a long time in order to actually be successful as that and everything. So it really would need to be 6 months. You need to train for like a long time in order to actually get where you actually need to be. Just not like a short time, like 1 to 3 months. And also here's an extra idea that some students always get wrong as well. For students who do actually decide to start early, sometimes they actually think that, because they just have so much time and everything, they go chill. But then in reality, unfortunately, you really need to make sure that across the time that you're practicing, you're staying highly focused and extremely consistent as well, okay? So highly focused and extremely consistent. I'd recommend, I'm not going to go to this exactly right now, but I'd actually recommend that you do study pretty much every single day, and for a certain amount of time and everything, but what actually really works for you and everything. So pretty much just like every single day if possible, and you're studying consistently across the day. And the reason for that is because, more practice the better, but also for another big reason is if you don't practice after a while, you're going to actually end up rusting, okay? So you're going to end up rusting as well. And if you actually end up rusting, well, it just means that you're going to improve a bit, then, decrease and improve and decrease, and you're not actually going to really get anywhere and everything, only maybe a little bit. But if you keep practicing, you're always just going to continually go up, right? So make sure you definitely are, training consistently. Like, you can still do lots of other fun things and everything, like, like hanging out with your friends and all those other things as well. But like, make sure that you always get 30 minutes. Do UCAT training for 30 minutes or something like that, and then go hang out with your friends for 5 hours, or whatever you want, okay? So with this, it's very important you start training as possible. I repeat it. It's like, today possible. The earlier that you can do, the better. And you need to make sure that you actually find a competent tutor who can guide you the right way. Yes, you can be smart and try to self-teach it, but your experience will be made much, much easier with a competent tutor who can actually teach you the right sort of way and everything. If you don't have the right tutor, you can be taught down the wrong path, build bad habits, and screw yourself up and everything. Yes, you can screw up yourself up on the first day, having the wrong ideas and everything. And you need to make sure you actually find a tutor who knows exactly what they're doing so they can teach you the right way, and that'll make your learning so much easier. The way I sort of see it is you pay a couple $1,000s or a couple $100 to get into your dream career. That will actually be much, much better for you in the long run as well. The way I see it, it's one of the easiest trade-offs of your life. Okay, so quick summary and everything. So just to quickly wrap it up. So for the Ucat and everything, people always think you need to practice for like a short time, but in reality, it's much longer. It's because of the heavy competition and also the fact that skills can be trained, but you need a long time to train them properly. And my recommendation is that you practice for 6 months to a year with consistent and hard training across each day. Don't slack. Oh, you can slack a little bit here and there, but it's just like with the gym and everything. The sort of habits that sort of tell your brain and everything, I can take 1 day off and everything. I'll give you the habit to get you off for 1 whole month and you're not making any sort of progress. Okay. So that wraps up the video right here. A reminder of my Google Forms to request a private tutoring session. Very relevant because I do believe I am a tutor who can definitely guide you to the right path and everything. I do have that 100% success rate, and the online Ucat Discord community as well, where you can just simply go ahead and join and find a sort of community of people, because we all prosper when we work as a team and not necessarily when we are the lone wolf. Okay. So wrapping up and everything, to score 3,000, you need to aim for 3,600. See you guys later. Pleasure being your tutor for today, and make sure you check out my other videos. They're all there and they're all great to teach. See you later.